London, England, one of the most beautiful cities in the world, famous for its royal heritage, pomp, ceremony, and rich history. It's also known as the music capital of the world. My name is Paul Anthony McCrae, and I'll be your host and conductor for this 5-part journey into one of the most magical and exciting musical wonders of the world, the Symphony Orchestra. Together, we'll discover the orchestra. Most large American cities, such as New York, Boston, Philadelphia, Chicago, and Los Angeles, have one world-class symphony orchestra each. London has 4 of these great orchestras: the London Symphony, the Philharmonia Orchestra, the London Philharmonic, and the Royal Philharmonic. On any given night throughout the year, there could be as many as 4 or 5 major performances going on at the very same time, making it difficult to choose one concert over another. That's why London is truly known as the music capital of the world. When I was a young boy many years ago, I remember my first experience in attending a live orchestra concert. It was very exciting, but it was also quite confusing. I didn't have any background that would make the orchestra more understandable and enjoyable for me. As I remember, that orchestra resembled a vast musical jigsaw puzzle with upwards of 100 instruments on stage. Now, if it was confusing for me, then I'm sure that it could be quite confusing for many of you too. So I'd like to concentrate during these upcoming musical programs on simplifying the orchestra so that it will be easier and much more meaningful for you to enjoy now and throughout your lives. Now, the best way to simplify the orchestra is to break it down into 4 families or sections: the strings, the brass, the woodwinds, and the percussion. Once we've done that, we can easily dissect those 4 sections into individual instruments. Now, while this exploration will be educational, I hope you'll also find it entertaining and enjoyable. Who knows, maybe we'll even have a little fun somewhere along the way. After you've become expert at identifying the various instruments, we're going to unite them all for a wonderful musical celebration, a live concert performance with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. Our first program features the string family of the orchestra. So let's visit with members of the Royal Philharmonic and find out why the strings have become known as the backbone of the symphony orchestra. The string section consists of violins, violas, cellos, and double basses, with each one being a member of the violin family. As you can see, they're all shaped alike, differing mainly in size and the way in which they are held. Each of these beautiful instruments are masterfully carved from a combination of both soft and hard wood, creating a sort of hollow wooden box. By attaching 4 strings and setting the strings into vibration with the use of a slender tapered stick known as the bow, we create an amplifier that converts these vibrations into actual sound waves or music. During the 1600s and 1700s in Cremona, Italy, some of the world's finest string instruments were handcrafted by 2 great masters of the art of instrument making, Antonio Stradivari and Niccolo Amati. Today, some of those priceless treasures sell for as much as $500,000 or more because of their scarcity and unparalleled beauty of sound. During our visit today, I'd like to introduce each individual member of the string family to you and explore their characteristics in sound, technique, and style. One of the most important facts to remember is that the smaller the instrument, the higher it should sound. This is called the size-pitch relationship. Now, the violin is the smallest member of the string family, so according to the size-pitch relationship theory, it should prove to be the highest sounding. Let's find out. This is Barry Griffiths, the concertmaster of the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. Barry, would you play something for us that demonstrates a wide range of possibilities for the violin?
Sure. Like the Tchaikovsky cadenza, for
Wonderful.
Sure.
Really wonderful, Barry. It's obvious from this wonderful display of artistry that the violin is capable of playing just about anything. Of course, it depends on who's playing it. Sometimes it can be very painful listening to a beginning violin student as he or she attempts to get through the initial scratching and scraping period. However, that part is essential and there's no getting around it. Well, I'm sure that you would agree that as the smallest of the string instruments, the violin can certainly play in an extremely high range or register, just as the size-pitch theory states. Now, Barry, how would you best describe the sound of the violin?
Well, the violin, of course, is reckoned to be the nearest instrument to the voice. And with apology to singers, of course, us violinists maintain it's better than the voice, the soprano voice, that is. It has a wider range, as you've just heard. And also, of course, it can produce 102 different shades of sound, from very silky sound to a brilliant noise, you know, especially at the top of the E string. You can play over the fingerboard, for instance, producing this sort of woolly, stroke, silky sound. And you can also produce a very rasping noise near the bridge, and because of 60 different sounds between the two, you know.
So I suppose it is very reasonable to compare the violins to the soprano section of a chorus, in that they can either sing or play the highest parts of the music. Now, in most symphony orchestras, there are about 30 violinists, which, by the way, is about 3 times more than any of the other string sections. In view of this abundance, most composers will divide the violins into 2 sections, violin 1 and violin 2, thus creating more inner voices and harmonies. Now, to my left is Peter Kasham, and he's the principal second violinist of the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. Peter, perhaps you and Barry could play something that would demonstrate what the 2 violins sound like together.
Of course.
How about some Bach?
Right on.
Beautiful. Very, very fine. Well, we can immediately feel a significant difference with the added second violin, and I like to compare the second violin part to the second soprano part in a chorus. Peter, one of the most frequent questions that most young children would ask would be, if we only have 4 strings, all of the same length, how are you capable of playing so many different notes on the violin?
Well, the longer and thicker the string, the lower it will sound. The shorter or thinner, the higher it will sound. We can shorten the length of the string by pressing our fingers down, which controls the length that the string can vibrate. For example, this is an open G string. Now, by putting a finger down, say about 3 inches near the bridge, that shortens the length of the string, which produces a higher note, for example. So the 2 notes, and so you could go 5 inches more, and it might be.
And of course, this applies to all of the string instruments. Now, the violin is considered the most important of the string instruments, not only in the orchestra, but also in solo performance and in chamber music as well. Now, our next instrument is known for its ability to perform as an ensemble instrument, which complements its neighbors with its warm inner voice. This is Andrew Williams, principal violist of the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. Andrew, from a distance, the viola looks exactly the same as the violin. Now, perhaps you could share with us some of the physical differences with the 2 instruments?
Yeah, sure. The viola is exactly the same shape as the violin, exactly. It's a couple of inches longer, it's a bit deeper here, all the way around. The F-holes here, you can see 2 of them, they're a bit bigger. The head is larger. Of course, it's heavier to hold. It's, you know, we have more problems that way than violin players. And it's got a deeper sound. So those are the main differences.
Good. Now, again, if it's larger, then it should sound lower than the violin. So let's see. Would you play something for us?
Yeah, sure. This is the solo from Hariana Suite by Kodai.
Very, very fine. Very nice. Well, there's no denying that it certainly sounds a lot lower than the violin. But what other differences in sound could you say about the viola?
Well, the main difference, Paul, is the quality of the sound. It's a warmer sound, it's more mellow, it's richer, a darker sort of sound. Yeah.
And sometimes it's capable of sounding a little nasal-like, isn't it?
Yes,
yeah.
yes, it is.
Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Well, in reality, the viola is only about 1/7 larger than the violin. And it's really amazing how much just a couple of inches can change the whole personality of an instrument. The violas resemble the alto section of a chorus. And one of the great advantages that string players have over wind players is that they don't have to stop playing to take a breath. They can keep right on bowing. Andrew, what about the difference in the bow between the violin and the viola?
The only difference is the actual, the heaviness.
The thickness, it's a little thicker.
The wood is thicker. The frog here is slightly bigger. And the width of the hair, there's slightly more hair here. But otherwise, it's the same.
That's very close, yeah. Well, the bow actually resembles an archer's bow in that it has an inward curve which holds a hank of horsehair tightly in place. And if we were to magnify that horsehair, we can see that it has jagged edges or surfaces, almost like little teeth. And these little teeth gently grip the strings, which causes them to vibrate. Now, while the violins and violas are easily held under the player's chin, our next-door neighbor here is much too large for that. This is the cello, played by Eldon Fox, principal cellist of the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. Now, the cello has always been one of my very favorite instruments, and if I could start all over again, I'd probably play the cello. What touches me most about the cello is its very rich, radiant sound, lush, full, and resonant. The cello has a very different sound, partly due to its size and the special way it's played. Once again, the size-pitch relationship has a lot to do with that. The fact that it's much larger than the two violins and the viola put together will provide us with a much lower, darker sound. Now, the cellos are the bass voice of the orchestra. It's very funny, but every time I conduct our national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner, the entire orchestra stands to show its patriotic respect, except the cello section. This is the only instrument in the orchestra that actually requires a chair during its performance. People often will ask me after a concert why the cello section didn't stand during the Star-Spangled Banner, because most of them aren't aware of this fundamental restriction. Now that we have a little more background about the cello, would you play something for us, Eldon?
Of course, Paul.
Absolutely gorgeous. Thank you so much, Eldon. Well, now that we've taken a close look at the violin, viola, and the cello, how about a visit with what I call the grandfather of the string family, the double bass. And this is Jack McCormick, principal bass player with the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra. Now, the double bass by its sheer size and magnitude alone gives an aura of a grandfatherly image. But once again, the size-pitch relationship will dictate that this instrument is unquestionably the lowest member of the string family. Now, let's listen to Jack. Bravo. Now, that's pretty low, And the double basses are actually the foundation or the bottom of the string family. And most of the time, they reinforce the cello voice only an octave lower. Because of their size, they are a little bit on the clumsy side and don't have the agility or the flexibility sometimes that the cellos can have. Now, Jack, the double bass is used quite frequently in jazz.
That's true, yeah.
But when they play in jazz groups, they don't use the bow. Could you maybe tell us something about that?
Well, it's called pizzicato. Pizzicato, in Italian.
Pizzicato, yeah.
I mean, plucking the strings, not the bow. Or jazz, it's sort of improvised.
I see.
Or pizzicato, it's blocking. In an orchestra, it's like that.
Just playing, right? Wonderful. Now, this pizzicato technique, or as Jack pointed out, plucking the strings without the use of the bow, can be used by all of the string instruments. Now, here's a fun example from the classical repertoire where the instruments are only playing by plucking the strings, and this is known as the pizzicato polka by Strauss. Remember, the string family is made of 4 instruments: the violin, the viola, the cello, and the double bass. Each instrument has 4 strings, which can either be bowed or plucked. And as in all the families in the orchestra, there exists a size-pitch relationship within the string family, from the violin, which is the smallest and the highest pitched, to the double bass, which is the largest and the lowest pitched. Considering the fact that 2/3 of the orchestra is made up of strings, it's easy to understand why the strings are known as the backbone of the orchestra.